everybody. So tonight I'm gonna talk a little bit about the houses some more. I'm gonna do the fifth house. Here is the card for it. And the fifth house it's like the house of creative self-expression. It's creative areas of life. It's the things that we create. This is tangible things. This can also be things like children, like our biological children. Hobbies fall here. This house covers or deals with the things that we enjoy doing. You can kind of think of it as like the pleasure house or like the good time house. Things like dating would fall here. Not I would think of it as the time like when things are still fun and light and easy, before you really get serious with somebody. Also, this house is also things like amusement parks. if you want to talk about like weird things that this house could be, or actual places, actual physical locations, things like amusement parks, casinos would probably fall here too, because gambling and risk taking is another thing that this house deals a lot with. The way that we feel these are risks that we take ourselves. So if you like to do something like skydiving, for instance, that might be found in this house or in connection to the ruler, the planetary ruler of this house. It's also an artistic place, again, because it's so creative, right? One of the big things I wanted to talk about here, because it's something that I see mentioned on different, or brought up on different forums and things of that nature, is the idea of children. Sometimes people will ask if we're able to see how many children they'll have or what their children will be like. And okay, so there are some astrologers that feel like you can see how many kids somebody will have by way of like planets that fall in the fifth house, things of that nature. I tend to disagree with that, how many kids you'll have. I don't think it's always that easily seen like a number. However, the sign that rules your fifth house, there does seem to be a correlation to having a child that has a prominent, that has a, okay, like for instance, my fifth house is ruled by Aries in my chart, and my sun is Aries rising. So there does, and this isn't just me, this is not universal, but I have seen it, where the fifth house can show like a prominent sign of your child, and this isn't necessarily just in your chart, like in the other parent's chart as well, the father, the mother's chart of the other person. It might be seen as well, obviously, because it takes two of you to do this. But I have noticed a trend with that. Another idea is, okay, so the fifth house can also show how you see your children. Not necessarily how the rest of the world views your children, right? But how you view them. So, your child, okay, you may have say Capricorn ruling the 5th house. And let's say Saturn is in the 5th. The rest of the world may not see your child as more responsible and serious, right? But you see them that way. So I feel like more than anything, this one tends to be the case. Again, that is not universal. You might have your 5th house ruled by Capricorn and have Saturn there, and you don't view your child at all in a Capricorn or Saturn way. And that's, so it's not a universal thing, but I have found that does tend to be the case more often than not. So that's usually what I like to, when people ask about any future children that they might have, that's usually kind of the way that I'll guide them, rather than trying to come up with a number, because you know, I've seen it said where people will be like, oh, you've got 2 planets in the 5th house, that means you'll have 2 kids. Why? I mean that no. Not necessarily. I mean, I don't have any planets in the 5th house and I have a child. I've seen that, and again, I know when people say that, they're probably not meaning it universally, but I don't see it work out like that very often. I see it work out like the ways I mentioned before. It tends to work out more that way. That's a little bit about, and that's biological children, just to make it clear. 5th house is biological kids. Adopted children and bonus kids or stepchildren, that would be an 11th house thing. That's usually where you would look for that. That would not be a 5th house thing. That would be 11th house. Sex is also in this house as well. Again, it's not the deep soul merging kind of sex that happens in the 8th house. It's not. I like to think of the 5th house sex as like light. It's like the like the one night stand shit, or like the just fucking for a good time. You know, it you're not looking for anything. Well, let me actually rephrase that, because some people do have heavier 5th houses where they try to do the light and easy thing and it just doesn't work for them. You know, they're not built like that. But generally the kind of sex that people have from the 5th house point of view is light, it's easy, it's fun, it can turn into something serious, but that's not what this sort of sex here is. It's much more free, if you will. But again, not everybody's built that way. Some people, some people, even when they try to do light sorts of relationships like that, it doesn't do it for them. Let me see. Yeah, see here we have it as premarital relationships. Yeah. So it's a fun place. It's a creative place. You know, and of course, depending on, you know, what planets fall there, where the planetary ruler of the house falls, will show, you know, what planetary energy needs to be expressed through the 5th house, and where the planetary ruler is shows where the 5th house bends, right? By way of dispositions, which is also really important to take into account. Like if you've got somebody, say, that has the 5th house ruler in the 6th, it might show something like they really need to be able to be creative in daily life, or they need to get creative with their routines, or what have you. So, but it's a fun house overall. It's generally a fun place. So, yeah, I think that's about it. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you all later.